Hello and welcome to episode 205 of Quarkus Insights. We're going to be looking at JobRunr, and we've got our special guest of Ronald. So really looking forward to seeing this, because I know we sort of chat back and forth every now and then about sort of connections between JobRunr and some of the things that I'm working on. So looking forward to sort of seeing the full demo.
Awesome.
I think we don't have any news, so I think we can just jump straight in. So maybe Ronald, to start off with, can you give us just a bit of a sort of an introduction to you and what you've been doing?
Yeah. So I'll try to condense a 5-year story into a 1-minute talk or description. So I used to freelance a lot, both as a Java developer and I even went to the dark side. I've done some .NET development, to be honest. Ooh, yeah.
Oh, I'm afraid we have to end the episode here. What a shame.
I was afraid that you were going to say that. Scratch that last part. But no, it was really insightful, because in the end, what you learn is that the technology is with which you work, it makes a good day of the. It's important, but I also think that in fact the team is even more important. But anyway. I got there to help with the calculation of the salary slips of Belgian employees. And there was a tool that I got introduced to for running distributed jobs and batch jobs, which was called Hangfire. And I noticed back then, this thing doesn't exist, in fact, in Java. So I mentioned to my colleagues back then, hey, one day I'm going to port this over to Java. And then continued freelancing for a bit. And then, there was this project which didn't go that well, where I decided then to end the contract and just started on JobRunr. Then COVID hit, which was like, oh, fuck, why did I end my contract? I'm never going to have another job again. But luckily, a really supporting wife at home, and she said, "Yeah, just continue with it." And then 8 months later, it was born, and put it on GitHub, and it has been growing ever since. And what started out as a hobby project is now a 5-man company.
That's really cool.
Yeah,
and you're so right about .NET, actually, and just in general, like, we sort of joke about the other languages sometimes, but it's how you learn, and you get such good cross-fertilization by trying different things, and then it helps you understand your own ecosystem better.
Indeed. And there are definitely concepts that Java does better, but also concepts that .NET does better. And I was lucky enough to work on a pre-sales project, and then say this is going to cost so many man days, but then just leave as the Java developer after doing the pre-sales project and the customer signed. It's not really nice for the other developers. So I said, okay, let's work on it together. I'll learn some .NET. To be honest, it was quite frustrating in the beginning. All the stack traces and all the exceptions you got, but in the end, you learn and you work, you get to know them, and it worked fine. It worked out fine.
Cool.
But perhaps we should go into the actual live coding, because I think that's why people are here.
Yeah, because I always have to. I'm always curious about, like, why do you need why not just an app server? Why do you not? What is special about JobRunr?
Yeah. Well, perhaps I'll first do a little bit of demo, and then I even got your exact reason or question inside the demo, I think. So
cool.
Let's try this out. So I'm gonna start completely from scratch. So I'm gonna create a Quarkus project completely from scratch, add all the dependencies to it, and then what we will do is we will, via REST endpoint, we will create a job, see how it behaves. Then we will also talk about scheduling jobs, scheduling recurring jobs. And then Max, I'll answer your question. So let's dive into it. I first need to get my mouse on the correct screen, and here we are. So we're first going to create the app, and we're going to go into the folder. And of course, we need some extensions to make everything works. The first one that I'm going to add is, of course, the REST API. Then the next one, we're going to use Postgres, because I really love Postgres. It's such a great database. And of course, JobRunner is database agnostic, so it means that we support all databases almost out there, and also MongoDB as a NoSQL database. We want to make sure that our application and our jobs are working fine, so I'll also add small health. And last but not least, we of course also need JobRunner. And I really want to thank the community, the Quarkus community here also, because they made sure that the Quarkus extension, the JobRunner Quarkus extension was added to the Quarkus extension store. So that was really nice. Okay. So now we have the project open, and let's dive right into it. We have our greeting resource. I'm going to rename that to the jobs resource. We'll rename, of course, all the tests. A typical use case, Max, for example, why you would need jobs, and I'm going to give more examples later on. But let's say that you have an e-commerce system or something, or medical image processing, and you receive these images, these medical images, via a REST endpoint. But then you want to make sure that your front end or your web servers aren't losing all their CPU cycles for analyzing all those medical images. So what you can then do is you can just create a job. Yeah, you first save the image, of course, and then you create a job that will then do the medical image analysis on the background. And that means even in a different server. So let's do that in this example, but of course not medical images, but just some really simple jobs. And of course, most projects, they also typically, there are some services around there. I think everybody has at least one kind of service in his project. So let's start by creating a service. And the service has a method, do some work. And it can have input. And in this case, I'm just going to scissor it like this. Then to create an actual job out of it, we of course need an endpoint which we will call. Create example job in this case. We are also going to add an add path, and in this case, this one is going to stay hello. This will become create example job. And of course, we want to have some input. So I will say default value, hello Quarkus, add query param, name. And this is in fact our the first version of our endpoint. But now, how do we want to create jobs? Well, we need to inject two things. The first one is the job scheduler. And we want to create a job from the service we created earlier on, so the my service. So I'm also going to inject that. And the thing that we then need to do is, well, job scheduler.enqueue. And what am I going to do? I'm just going to give it a lambda, simple Java 8 lambda. There is also another way to create jobs, which I may show later on. But what we can then do is call my service, do some work with the name that we got as an input. And the whole thing in this case returns a job ID, and I just say enqueued job and plus job ID. So this is the first step to create a job, but of course we want to run this distributed, and that's why I will not use the default Postgres database that Quarkus already starts, but I will create my own with Docker. And I am going to put the Postgres settings here. Let me quickly see whether I can find it. So what type of data source are we going to create? Postgres, all really simple, nothing special. But my Docker is still running, so I did not clean it up. Let's quickly clean it up so that we have a complete blank slate. And I'm going to create a new file here called restart postgres.sh schmod plus x restart postgres, and then I am going to take a sneak peek here. Voila. All right, that should be up and running. I hope I am not forgetting anything, so let's now try to see what happens when I start Quarkus. And of course, the demo gods. But this is in fact an exception that I wanted. So JobRunner by default uses JSON everywhere, and we need a JSON provider to transform the jobs so that we can save them easily inside the database. And we both support JSONB, Jackson, and we recently had a contribution where also Kotlin X was added. But for now, I am going to use the Jackson version. Jackson, voila. And if we now start it again, I hope that our demo gods like us more.
Oh.
They don't. Yeah. Oh, but this is okay. This is okay. Of course, what did we do? We created our job resources and we injected my service. But in this case, I forget to add something. This has to be application scoped. Let's try again.
You probably don't need to restart it, do you, when you do those changes?
It's true. I am still an often restarter for some things. Yeah, but let's have a look. It now works. So no errors. That's already good. And let's now see whether we can create a job. Oh, I think I forgot something in the jobs resource. jobs. I think they should become in queue, but I don't know. Holly, do you know by heart when I change like a path, will it also pick it up automatically?
Yep.
It should. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but reload all the classes basically.
Indeed. So it created the job. That's already good. But yeah, we don't have anything to see yet. So what I will now do is I will create a new instance, because of course your front end there, you don't want to expose the JobRunner dashboard, and the JobRunner dashboard allows you to see in how your jobs are performing. Are they failing? Are they succeeding? How many are there? Which ones are scheduled? And this is something typically you only want to have available internally, and that's why by default it's off. So I will now just start another instance of my application, but with a different environment variable to enable the JobRunner dashboard. And this is this one. So what do? We start again Quarkus. I give it now a different port, and we say, okay, enable me the dashboard. And
so again, if you only wanted to have the one instance, it would probably work to just put that into your application config and not restart.
Indeed. I'm not restarting, in fact. I'm not restarting. I'm adding another instance because, yeah, your main web server, you don't. The reason that we don't enable the dashboard by default is because, yeah, you don't want to enable it by accident, because then you have some stuff internal that is public. So that's why by default it's disabled. Of course, you can indeed put it in the here in the Quarkus in the properties. Dashboard enabled. So here indeed you see that by default it's disabled, but we enabled it now with the properties. So
do you have it in the dev UI?
Come again?
I'm asking, like, would it be? Yeah, because Sven says, is it available in the dev UI? Like, because in Quarkus you know you're running in dev mode, so therefore.
That's a good idea. In fact, we didn't think about it yet. It would be good, and indeed that in dev it would automatically all be enabled by default. That's where you have so the person who suggested it, you feel free to create a GitHub issue on, I'll quickly show it, JobRunner, and then if you we can take it, can have a look at it to enable it.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Oh, sorry, go on, Max.
I was just going to say, we have this other cases where, for example, the Swagger UI, we have that enabled, but under dev mode. And then you have a flag to enable it in production mode where it's on a different path, right? So you could have it in a QDev, JobRunner dashboard. Because we don't want to. We have this. I forgot we call it like app specific paths and dev mode paths. So that. It just makes sense. So cool.
It's the benefit of coming on Quarkus Insights is you leave with a whole bunch of work.
Yeah. Oh, is it an advantage or
advantage?
Yeah, quote unquote. So here we now see that we enqueued, of course, the job, but there are no servers, and that's the other thing that we disable by default. So these are the two things that when you want to run JobRunner all on one server, you need to enable two properties. If you go to the example, the Quarkus example that we have, you will see that these two properties are enabled. But what I'm going to do for now is, again, also enable it, but again with a property. And the cool part is that the dashboard is auto-updating. So we soon will see that the servers here will bump to 1, and the job will normally be automatically in queued, unless I am missing something. Oh, this is enqueued. Is this the demo guards? We are all running on the same. Did I enable it?
Oh, you've got yeah, you've got a port. You've got it on the same port.
Yeah, of course. Thanks. I should have copied from where I always copy instead of trying to adapt things. And this should be better. It will also mention it that it's running in this case. So here we mention started the background shop server successfully using Postgres and 256 background shops performers. And in this case, the dashboard automatically updated. So we noticed that the job went from enqueue to processing to succeeded. And on the servers page, we now see that there is one server participating in background job processing, which is, of course, my MacBook.
Cool.
But that's not all that we can do, of course. Sometimes you just need to schedule a certain job for the future. And P.S., I know I should be using post HTTP request, of course, but I'm kind of lazy today, so I prefer
I do the exact same thing in my demos.
Excellent. So let's schedule an example job in this case. And we do exactly the same. But in this case, also, let's add a delay, for example. And this can be any instant, any local date time. But for the demo purposes here, I will just use a delay, and by default, we will delay it by 3 hours. At query param delay, and then we do string. Oops, I should not have put the comma. Delay. And what I then will do is I will just use job scheduler.schedule. I create an instant at now, but we now do plus a certain duration, and then I do duration.parse of our delay. And IntelliJ's autocomplete really improved because it automatically already suggested what I wanted to do. So what we do is we take instant and now, we add the duration, the delay as a duration. So it's scheduled by default 2 hours from now. So this can be when you, 3 hours from now, when you want to send a welcome email, three hours, for example, after a person signed up. And then you just pass again a lambda, and we will create a job for you and schedule it.
So Ronald, just so I get it right. So in Quarkus and other, you could just use a scheduler or something, but the difference between that and this is that this is persistent and manageable from the outside.
Yeah, indeed. So let's say that you could definitely do this with the Quarkus scheduler, but what happens if you restart? What happens if you have a pod crash? This all persists everything to the database. And the big benefit from my point of view is that it's distributed. So we save it here in this GVM or this server, but it can be a totally different server that actually executes the job. Meaning that depending on the load, you could just scale up or down in Kubernetes some pods for background job server processing. And your front end, in fact, will not know even that there is a lot of load.
Nice. And in terms of the sort of the landscape as well, so there's sort of the Quarkus scheduler, So what kind of problems is this solving compared to the sorts of problems that you would solve with just like Java Batch and JBarray or something like the Quartz scheduler?
Yeah. Well, the Quartz scheduler, to be honest, the moment that I started working on JobRunner, Quartz was not really well maintained that much anymore. And there are quite some performance issues. So we had to sometimes run batches where we process millions of jobs in an hour or something. And the big benefit is that we just scale up the amount of background job servers. And the way we do our logging in the database is so lightweight that we can get to a really nice throughput. Being on mediocre hardware, we go to 8,000 jobs per second easily. And this number was just not feasible with Quartz. Then compared to other batching frameworks, well, I find them a little bit complicated. And I just want to have a Lambda that I execute as a job, and end of story. I want to pass in the parameters. I don't want to configure all the different thread pools I just want to pass in my method, and the thing should just be done, end of story. That doesn't mean that I think batching frameworks definitely have their advantages for ETL jobs, so where you need to load a lot of data from a database, transform it and save it again. But if there's any kind of business logic involved, like what we had to do, and I'll give an example of that also later on, is with the salary slips, we had to create salary slips, but to do so, we had to take into account information of 8 different data providers. And if one of them is down, the job, of course, fails. And what JobRunner will automatically do for you, it will retry 10 times with an exponential backoff policy, solving all the headaches that was related with calling external services. And so I'll give a demo of that right after. So I don't know, does this answer your question?
Yeah.
And just when you say, sorry.
Sorry, go on, Matt.
Yeah, it's just you basically just applying a Lambda that gets sent over. So I assume there's like some serialization and some coordination of the class versions, or how does this work?
Yes. Oh, welcome to the dark side of bytecodes. So
I know it well.
The thing is, like, you have the same thing in like there's like what's called JVM and JBoss rules where they persist stuff to bytecode, and yeah. Anyway, I'm curious how that works to solve in JobRunner.
So it's not that hard, and that's one of the nice things that I learned with JobRunner is that the Java bytecode is in fact not that hard. It's once you get a hang of it, it's quite readable. And so what happens is that once you pass us the Lambda, we analyze the bytecode and we transform it to JSON. And this JSON is then saved inside the database. And then we can just reload it on all the different servers. But there is a big but. What happens if you go to GraalVM native mode? Because then what we do to find out which Lambda is being used, we use serialization. And it should now be possible, and we're looking into that, but we're not completely there yet, to have like all the information that you pass to the Lambda to capture it. That's why we also support like the command handler pattern. I will give a small demo of that also, which then automatically works with GraalVM native mode, and that way your Quarkus app starts up in an instant, and you can really get even better performance.
And when you say you store the bytecode in JSON,
no. We analyze the bytecode to, in fact, and I'll quickly jump over to the website if that's okay. That way, because it's all documented there. Normally, if I recall it correctly, because it's a long time ago. So what we do is, whenever you pass, for example, this send JobRunner example or a sysout, what do we get is we capture the class name, the static field name, the method name. The static field name is kind of a corner case. I've never seen it really used in production systems, but also all the job parameters. That's why it's important to make sure that if you pass like an argument here, it should always be serializable to JSON, because what we do is we capture the argument, serialize it to JSON together with all the details, and that allows us to save this in like a job, and we then load that information, use a little bit of reflection to start the job again and on a different server, and it runs.
So, okay, so you're actually storing the bytecode. So if I have like 10 lines of code, you're basically storing each of those operations.
No. We really check the outer thing of your Lambda. So here in this case, what we will store is the fully qualified class name, the method name, and all the arguments. And that's all that we need, because then using CDI, we can ask for, hey, can you give me the instance of this class, the my service class? I want to invoke this method on it, and I also want to pass these parameters.
Okay, so it's just a signature. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a signature with the arguments. And there is a good question already in the chat, I see. Yeah, what if the method name changes? Indeed, well, JobRunner will then mention to you on startup, hey, you changed your arguments for this class, and or the method signature changed, and it will result in a job not found exception.
Got it. Okay, so it is. So I'm just trying to admit. So this is not. So there's still an expectation that JobRunner is using the same, like some compatible classes with this Lambda, right? Like
I see what you mean. So what we typically see people do is they deploy their application, they create some jobs. If they want to scale up, they just deploy the same application multiple times. Jobs are processed faster, and then they scale down again. If you then you want to refactor, you want to change, well, then it's important to have a look on how your jobs were created before, and of course adapt them, because all the jobs that were already scheduled or in queued, and you then deploy a new version, yeah, well, there a migration needs to happen.
Yeah.
We've got another question from Alexi as well about state and how you...
Yeah. My service is indeed meant to be stateless. So it's like any typical other service where I've always learned, at least, it's a good question, to have to be state agnostic. If it has some state, well, what you can typically do is you can pass in parameters to your job, and that's like typically the state that you want to use inside your services. If you want to create a PDF, for example, yeah, then or analyze a PDF, yeah, then the argument would be the string or the part where the PDF is located. But the service itself will have to be stateless.
It's one of those interesting things, isn't it? Where it's sort of, it seems so simple, and then you just sort of start thinking about it more, and then you realize all of the things that you have to handle, which is why people need something like JobRunner rather than just rolling their own.
Yeah. And the nice part is that the feedback from the community really helped us fine tune and improve the product. So if is it conceptually a state? Yeah, it is, Alex. So any service can indeed just be, it's a bean like any other bean, or an application scoped singleton, or how you want to call it. And what it's supposed to do, it can of course use any other services that you want to eject, but the state itself should be immutable almost. So the input here that you get here should not change any of my service state, because let's say that your pod crashes, for example, then it will start on another pod, and then it will have lost that state. The good thing is that you can store some intermediate state inside the job itself. So let's say that you have a job that takes 10 hours to complete, and you, after 5 hours, you want to save, hey, I've already reached this point. Well, that's perfectly possible.
Cool. We've got a couple more questions, but we should probably let you get on with the next bit of the demo as well.
Yeah. It's really cool that there are so many questions. Love it. So if we now schedule the example job, and I put 4 hours here, then we see that the job has been scheduled.
Can you make your browser font a tiny bit bigger, actually?
Yeah, of course. Zoom. Command plus, if I recall correctly.
Yep,
so
cool.
That should be better. I don't know. Yeah, our dashboard doesn't scale that nice yet.
It could be a lot worse.
Yeah, true. But what do we see now? Well, we see that the job is scheduled, and we see that it's scheduled 4 hours from now. So yeah, that's rather easy. But let's go back to one of the earlier examples where exceptions happen. Who doesn't like exceptions? I really love them, to be honest. It's always challenging to have an exception during your demo. Let's say that I want to throw an illegal state exception because one of my dependency is down. And it can be even a checked exception. We don't care. So if I enqueue a new job now, and I'm really curious what will happen now, because last time this is when I had to, this is where for some reason I have to restart the server. It doesn't pick up. You guys are so smart inside Quarkus that you just kind of handle all the exceptions with grace, because it's it doesn't come through. I'm going to restart the server here. That should be enough, I think. That it picks up the new codes and it's running. And if I now enqueue another one, and if we go here again, enqueued. So the other thing that we have is we have live reload of this dashboard. So normally, the job has been processing. Of course, we instantly throw the exception, and then you can even see why it happened. And this is where it will automatically retry for you 10 times. But of course, sometimes you don't want it to retry 10 times. Well, that's where the job annotation comes in. And I can also give this job a really nice name inside our dashboard. And we can even access the input. So if I do, and this is just like string formatting, we will use %0 means take the first input argument and call toString to it. And in this case, by default, I only want to have 3 retries. If we then restart, I'm afraid, because of the exception, and we enqueue a new one, then JobRunner will not. I will only retry 3 times, and we have the really nice name here.
Cool.
Yeah. So out of the box retries was really helpful for when some external services are down. You don't need to worry about it. And this also really comes in handy when you want to have you're working together with Kafka, or Kafka, you probably have you can integrate within the same transaction, but some other thing like a REST endpoint, where you want to make sure that 2 items is one thing is saved to the database and an external service is called. Well, it's not possible within a database transaction. You cannot guarantee that it happens because HTTP cannot participate in a database transaction. But when you create a job, this job is saved to the same database. It can participate in the transaction, and then you know that if the job succeeds, it will in the end have called the external HTTP service, or you will find it here in the failed jobs, and that way you can have your operations team have a look at it, what happens. And in case that it was just down, just requeue it and it will solve itself. All right. Then there is one more thing that also is really nice, and that really relates to the Quartz scheduler. That is that if you have some regular work to do, like on a regular interval, daily at 4 p.m., I want to send out an email to, I know we don't want to send spam, but we just want to do something. Well, then you can just call the recurring, and here we can give it an ID, my recurring job, and then we say we support both cron and interval, and let's say that we want to do it at 4 o'clock. And then we also create a job. We name it my recurring job. And then do recurring job. It doesn't have to be more like that. And I wonder now whether this will automatically be picked up. I don't think so, because here we hook into the Quarkus listener to see whether there are any beans that have the recurring annotation, and this is only run on startup, I think. And now we see the recurring job, and it runs at 4 p.m. in this time zone, and it will run 15 minutes from now. Of course, if I want, I can trigger it immediately, and this is great. It was great for us at the end of each month. We just said, hey, start calculating all the salary slips for all the employees. And then we had this job one job that launched millions of other jobs. And then at the end, when it was done, we just scaled our pods down again, and this works out nicely.
So we've got an earlier question about the scaling and the orchestration. So can JobRunner start EC2 instances on demand to execute the jobs and then stop the instances?
We currently have an integration for KEDA, so that's not EC2 yet, but this is on our roadmap. And I'm afraid also that this part, of course, on Kubernetes, you can scale up and down based on CPU and memory and stuff like that. But we developed something that if you have like 10 million jobs that will launch at 10 a.m. in the morning or so, that instead of, because Kubernetes by default, it lags a little bit behind. It first must see that, yeah, there is a lot of CPU happening, there are a lot of jobs processing, whereas with Arcada integration, we can already spin up 10 extra servers right before 10 and then process all the jobs really quickly. But yeah, as you know, JobRunner is open source, but I also have 3 kids to feed. So this is why this feature is only in the pro version, I'm afraid. And this is something really difficult as an open source developer. Where do I put which feature? And yeah, since somebody said, yeah, JobRunner OSS is feature complete for me, this means, yeah, that we have to draw a line somewhere. Yes, the last question. So what if all servers are down? The job will come up, and it will be executed 1 minute later. So I think that's that. And then perhaps to answer Max's earlier question about why would we use this? Well, what if we want to now create a lot of jobs? So we will do /enqueue a lot of jobs. And we do, I'm going to be lazy, I'm going to copy this. Oh. And this is going to be enqueue a lot of jobs, and then we have a default value where we say we do, for example, 100,000. We just put amount. This becomes integer amount, and then in stream, oops, not range no amount. We do it boxed, and this is also really integrates well with your repositories, because typically a repository can also return a stream. So let's say that you want to give or send an email to each user inside your database. You just ask a stream of all that users, and then we will batch really efficiently to the database so that for all these users, a job is created that will send out the email. And then if your SMTP or SendGrid goes down, well, you're still sure that all those users will have received that email. Oops, this has to become stream. And then I do job scheduler.stream. And this can be a stream of users or anything. And because we pass in the stream, we have access to the argument here. So in this case, this will be the integer. And then I will do my service dot do some slow work e. Check. And this we do away, and then we say includes plus amount jobs. Then create methods, item, and then we do sysout, doing some slow work. And here, in this case, I will just method sleep. We're calling some 7 external services. This adds some time for item hub. And this should be it. So just double checking, we enqueue all those jobs. And I will now run this. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, this is brave to run that many jobs while live streaming.
Yeah. Let's see. Should be easy enough. Voila, we just already created 100,000 jobs. And now let's go to JobRunner. And they are all failing. Why are they failing? Job method not found. Yeah, well, I think that in this case, we do need to reload this one, because look at it go, it cannot find the methods. But if we reload it, I think, yeah, now it's working. I do wonder why it, yeah, because it's a job method not found. We don't even retry, to be honest. It doesn't make sense, and yeah, you would then be able to requeue them from the dashboard. Let's create another 100,000, because I do want to make sure that we have enough. So here you see, normally the dashboard will update, the numbers will increase now. But I don't know about you, it's almost 4 o'clock. In Belgium, we like some beers once in a while at the end of the working day. So in this case, we just scale up and we make sure, because by now we should be processing, how come we are processing about 256? And yeah, probably, so here, some jobs were processing, I killed the server, and these jobs were orphaned because we killed the pod. And yeah, in the database, they still have state processing. And JobRunner then, after a certain amount of time, decides, there's something wrong because that job hasn't been updated for a long time. Okay, let's fail it, and then it will be rescheduled. But now we do have a lot of jobs running, and like I mentioned, I don't want to wait that long. So what I'm just going to do is I am going to start another server. And whereas before we were only processing 256 jobs at a time, let's now make sure that we go a little bit higher, and there it's already processing. So now we should see that the processing that instantly increased to 490. And yeah, typically almost 500 threads will be busy at all time. And this number is depending, in fact, on your hardware. So based on your hardware will determine the ideal amount of jobs that hardware can run, making sure that you don't go out of memory.
Excellent. And we've got another question. Can you prevent Quarkus REST from starting up when running Quarkus as a JobRunner job server, because you don't need the HTTP server and it probably slows down the startup time?
Well, that's the exact same question I had earlier on when preparing this demo. So I think I'm gonna divert that question to you guys. I think it's possible. You can disable HTTP, I've seen, but I don't know HTTPS. I'm not sure, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure either. Do you know, Max?
I'm trying to understand the. So this is a thing I don't get. Like when I have a Quarkus job, a Quarkus app running, do the Lambda thing. What are you actually running on the other side? A copy of the app, or
exactly the same app, but with different properties.
Okay. Yeah, there is a HTTP. You can disable the HTTP port. But I don't know if that also means that stuff you rely on is not available. But yeah, there is a property, but whether it's build time or runtime, I don't know.
And it does look like at least some of this is relying on the HTTP can.
Yeah, we don't.
I guess only some, because it's to the database, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't need it per se. We only used it here in the example for creating the jobs. But the other thing that you, of course, can do is you can modularize your app. Let's say that you have like a core where you just have your services in there, and also and an API where you expose the interface, and then you just consume that interface in your server, and you're done. So that will definitely help. There's one other thing that I wanted to show. We're going quite fast here. 500 jobs. We already processed 100,000 of jobs, and so I'm gonna quickly stop this. The other way, and then I think it's time for us to all get that beer. Is we're from Belgium, and we really like beers, chocolate, and cookies here apparently. Yeah.
Every time I look at the number of jobs in queued, I'm singing to myself 999 bottles of beer on the wall. 999 jobs in queued on the wall. It doesn't quite work.
Handlers, let's call it like that. The other way to create jobs is via a job request handler, my job request. And what you would then do, you just implement an interface, job request. Implement methods. And this thing needs one thing. This is like a DTO where you can just pause in. And yeah, why I'm doing it like this, because of course we have records these days. Let me undo this quickly. Java class record my job request, and then we want to have string name implements job request, and then here we do return my job request handler class. Voila. And then this one will need one method, which is the DTO that we provided early on. So this is the other way, and this is the way you need to do it when you, for the moment still, you want to use GraalVM native if you want to compile to native mode. Then you can do sysout here and say my job run, and then you pass job request dot get name. And in this case, JobRunner doesn't need to do any of the bytecode reading magic. We have all the information available because this is the DTO. We just need to serialize it, and inside the DTO, we instantly know the handler. We have all the information, and no bytecode analysis needs to happen. And you would then use this like this. We would need to inject the job request scheduler, and then we do, and they all have the same methods. Example job request. And then we do job request scheduler .enqueue, and this is then not a lambda, but just new job, my job request name. And this is exactly the same thing without any of the bytecode analysis. So yeah, I don't know. I hope the audience liked what we've been talking about.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, yeah, you got a lot of questions. Yeah, lots of really good questions. So yeah, thank you, everybody.
Yeah. Well, maybe just to clarify, so JobRunner is open source, but you have a pro version that has some, open source but open core, and then you have some additional stuff on top that is part of the JobRunner Pro.
Yeah, indeed. And to be honest, how did I start this? Well, I started with the open source version. My wife was, I was lucky enough that my wife allowed me to work 8 months from home, just working on this without any income. So I have a really good wife. And then I decided, okay, I'm going to create a pro version. And if I ever get a customer, then I can take her out for dinner. So that has happened in the meantime. But yeah, the pro version adds features like rate limiting, priority queues, dynamic queues, and to be honest, as open source developer, it's really not always easy, to be honest, because there was a year that I was really close to burnout. If people send you unrelated stack traces via LinkedIn and expect an answer, it's not always a joy. But the pro version and the fact that we can earn a living out of it makes that this has become sustainable, which is, I think, really important for all developers. Open source is a blessing. We can learn so much from other frameworks, but we often only consume, and me myself too, but I try to sponsor. I have 2 projects at least on GitHub that I sponsor because I really like the work they're doing, and this is my way of also contributing back. So yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, and just because I think in the early days there was some stuff about like should the extension be in Quarkus or not? But I think we ended up being it's in JobRunner. The core is Apache licensed, but then you can use the pro version if you want.
Yeah. So wait, the core is LGPL, which means, and there is a lot of misunderstanding with LGPL. LGPL means use it as free will, but the moment that you touch some of the source code of JobRunner, you just need to contribute that part back. It doesn't have to mean that any of your own source code needs to be public or so. So we are LGPL, and the pro version has its own license, of course. Yeah.
Yeah. No. Well, Hibernate was JBoss and Hibernate was LGPL for years.
But they just finished it 2 months ago, I think, the migration.
Yeah, we changed it over just because it was hard. I'm not gonna explain, but it was basically we've always claimed the same thing that LGPL doesn't require anything on your project. It's just if you give back, if you're doing changes and you dispute, then you'll have to make that source available only for the Hibernate parts, not for the rest of that.
Indeed.
And which has been fine for a lot of stuff. The one that's caveat is I think like section 6. It says you also allow reverse engineering of the application to swap things out. One people don't like, some doesn't like, but yeah, in practice it's not a big deal. So, but okay, but cool. I learned a bit. I still find it. Again, the thing is, the feeling is this is not just the way you do this. It's not just like a job run. It's basically like a workflow, right? Like we have, hey, you spin off a job and you store the request, and then you run it, and then if it succeeds, all is good. Maybe you've missed, but what happened? This would. I'm trying to figure out a difference between this and JPM. Basically, is JPM can have like sub things, like flow it's a flow of everything else. Here it's literally just a lambda, so it either completes or it doesn't. Right? There's no decomposing of things.
In the OSS version, indeed. In the pro version, you can chain, you can batch, you can have all the GPPM stuff almost, but in a way, to be honest, that developers like writing Java code, not writing. How must I say, all the other files I'm really not good at, but just plain old Java code. And this is what I love about Java. It's compiled, it's checked, and yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Very cool.
Fantastic.
No, but good. And thanks for the Quarkus integration, and I'm looking forward to see the dashboard in depth.
And thanks for having me. So it's really nice to collaborate, and yeah, I must say I was really surprised. And perhaps one last thing before the beer. It's becoming too late. We're working on V8, which we hope to release before summer, and there we will have a really cool feature that's close to my heart, at least, and that will be that you will have the option in the open source version to schedule jobs within a certain period, and then JobRunner will schedule it when the least amount of carbon will be generated.
Yay. I was going to ask about that. I remembered you were working on that.
Yeah.
That's going to be really, really cool.
Yeah. We had a problem with another feature internally, and it took us a year. We just found a solution like a month ago for that one, where it clashed with another feature, but we were able to solve it finally. So now we're.
So is that like a generic thing where when you define a launch, you can say when certain criteria is available, or is it like very specific for?
It's going to be really easy. I don't think I can quickly open the branch. Feature, is it this one? Carbon, just a second. It's this one. And then if I search for carbon aware periods, where this one is used, between, this is a difficult one, between, and this one will be used. And then we go to an example, between, sorry, yeah, voila, this is how it will work. This was not the point, but you have a background job, or this is the job scheduler, and you just say, hey, schedule it carbon aware between now and I don't know when. This is your business requirements. We don't care. And then you say the work that you need to do. And what we will then do is, based on all the energy providers in the EU need to provide data when there is a lot of carbon generated and when not. And we use that information to then just automatically schedule the jobs in the moment that the least amount of carbon will be generated. So it's really developer-friendly APIs. It's like with you guys, it's really important for us. We spend a lot of time on it, and I think this.
So it's very specific for the carbon aware. Yeah, okay. And how does it detect it? I'm just curious.
So once a day, JobRunner will do an HTTP call to fetch information, because in Europe, all energy providers will provide data of how much carbon will be generated the next day using forecasting models. And based on these forecasting models, we know, okay, we can schedule it then when the least amount of carbon will be generated.
Okay,
that's really cool. It's nice that it's just so seamless.
Yeah, we all talk about it, but we wanted to do something about it, and this will work for scheduling and also for recurring jobs. You just say, hey, I want to do it between now and then. I don't care when exactly. And we will make sure that it happens at the best moment in time for this wonderful planet.
Yeah, and you're right, because quite often in business terms, you don't actually care when it gets done. You want it to get done, but you don't care. So then you may as well do it at the time, which is least wasteful of carbon.
Yeah, we have one customer begging us already for a long time for this feature. In fact, he will be really happy that we finally found a solution for the problem.
Really nice to see.
Cool. All right.
And with that, we better let you get to your beer. But thank you very much. Yeah, really, really interesting. Yeah. See you.
See you. Thanks for having me. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye.